What's up, fireTEKies? We're back here at fireTEK Studio. Bringing you today, Trent is going to show us on the different ways to use manual fire. We're going to cover using the remote today. And then in later videos, we're going to do Bluetooth and computer fire, and then hopefully a trigger fire too. So stay tuned, we'll be right there.
All right, so what we're doing today is we're going to do a manual fire with your remote and two modules. And there's a few steps you have to take. They're pretty simple. First thing you want to do is you want to power on your remote, and it will come up, indicate, let me get my little handy pointer here. It indicated your firmware, which on this remote is 6.0. The modules will differ. You do want them to all be on the same. If they are not, however, if you have to say borrow a module for a show, they will manual fire, but you want to try to get them on the same because some features aren't in the previous firmware versions. And whenever you first turn this on, what we'll say is create network. Now, whenever you go to create a network, you'll start to power on your modules and set IDs. Whenever you set an ID, it's the same as a channel number. And it says currently we have one slave. And the reason why we have one slave is because I have this module here that I previously set an ID to. The modules will retain their IDs as long as you keep them powered on. Whenever you want to add a second module, you'll simply turn it to ARM. It will power up, indicating the firmware, which is a different firmware version, but it will still link with this module. On the bottom of your remote, there are two buttons, a blue button and a green button. The green button will advance you to the very next ID or channel. So we want to set up this as module 2. So we will push the blue button, followed by the green, and it will go into this initialize state, and we will wait for the remote to pick it up. Now that the remote has picked up slave 2, is an indication that we now have two modules, module 1 and now module 2. On module 2 is the module that I have the rails landed with my pretend E-matches, which are just LEDs. And on the module, it is indicating what we have plugged in. These indicators, the asterisk will indicate that you have a bad connection on an E-match. Now, the reason why it says I have a bad connection is because the LEDs don't show enough resistance as an E-match would in order to show a proper connection. Now, if you notice on rail 2, where there is a square, that is an indication that is a good connection. I simply just took a piece of jumper wire here and jumped over to indicate, to show you the ability of showing that there is a good connection, a solid E-match here. The zeros indicate that there is nothing plugged into that particular queue. And if there is, I believe it is, if we look on the back of the module, turn this the right way so you guys can see it. This is a cheat sheet on the back of the module that will indicate what each of those items stand for. So once your network is created, your remote will indicate you're at the idle state. And one neat feature about fireTEK is that if you use these two bottom buttons down here, you can toggle between what slaves you have. So if you press forward, it will bring you to module 1, and module 1 is indicating there are no rails, and then this is module 1 that has no rails plugged in. So it's a very easy tool out in the field to figure out which modules have queues and which ones don't have queues. And if we push the advance button, it will bring up module 2. And right here on the screen, it indicates the same thing that's shown on the module itself. So you can be at the firing position and looking to see what modules you have that have queues still available, or modules that have errors or faults due to improper connected E-matches. It's a very good tool out in the field. Now that we have our rails connected, our LEDs or our matches are connected, we have to arm the system. And if we push the advance button, you'll go into the idle state, and you want to hold this button down for approximately 4 to 5 seconds. and the system will go into arm mode. This is an indication that the system is armed, and that the system is armed here. There's 2 slaves, and it is ready to fire. Now, in order to select what module you want to fire, you just simply press 1 through 12. So this would be Module 2. It will pull up Module 2. Then you select what rail you choose to fire, 1 through 4. So if we want to fire rail 1, you push down rail 1, it will advance, and then it will show you what you have cues on by flashing the LED. So if you press 1, it will fire LED or rail 1, Q1, and if you go to rail 1, Q3. And notice how it does knock out and indicate that there's now no matches that are plugged into that particular rail. That way you know what cues you still have available. We simply just go to rail 2, it will advance, and now it will indicate what we have by flashing the LED on the buttons, and we can go through and fire each individual one, and the remote will remember which cues we have pushed and which ones we have left. That's the simple way of firing a fireTEK system using the remote control. It does not matter if you have new rails, old rails, they're all compatible. Now, in order to take the system out of arm, you simply press the back button and the system will then disarm itself, bringing you back to the idle state. So now that your system's in the idle state, you're free to walk about and go out in the field and take a look at any faults or if you're adding more product to your chute. And that will conclude our manual fire. It's the basic, very basic option of manual fire. In future videos, we'll get them maybe a little bit more advanced. But remember, while you're out there, always be safe and have fun.